Hello. My name is Miss Erin, and I am coming to you live from the Mount Airy Library. Remember, we are in our phase two of reopening, so you are welcome to come into the branch for browsing. We're calling it kind of our grab and go phase, so some limited time and limited capacity. But we're so excited to actually see some of our customers again. So today, I wanted to celebrate my favorite month of the year, and that is October, because it has my favorite holiday of the year, and that is Halloween. And I think it is never too early to start your spooky reading list. So I thought I would help you guys fill your spooky reading list this year. And so I have a couple books here, um, two that I just pulled off a cart that I saw earlier that I think you might already be familiar with this series. And so then I wanted to introduce you to some books that you might not be familiar with. So these have been around since I was a kid. Goosebumps by R.L. Stine and Scary Stories by Alvin Schwartz. These are two series. The Goosebumps series has a ton. I mean, like dozens and dozens and dozens of books. The Alvin Schwartz Scary Stories series, I believe, maybe only has 3 books, but they are wonderful, super spooky reads. I would say I think that the Alvin Schwartz is a little spookier than the Goosebumps, so maybe you want to start with the Goosebumps if you haven't before, just to dip your toe in, and then you can go to the Scary Stories one. But these are two that you might already be familiar with, so I thought I would just mention them. But then now I'm going to get into books that I have recently read over the last couple of years that I think are wonderful, kind of hidden gem spooky books. So let's see. I'm not really going to go in order. I am going to start with this one, and this is by Holly Black, and she has actually written a few spooky books for middle grade, and I think even some for young adult teens. This is called Doll Bones, and this has 3 main characters: Zach, Poppy, and Alice, and they have been playing a continuous game of like fantasy and adventure that includes like pirates and mermaids and all kinds of stuff since they were little kids. And now they are about to enter into middle school. And so their games have always included some action figures and some dolls that they've had. But now that they're in middle school, Zach's father is worried that Zach is being too childish by still having these toys that he plays with. And so he throws away his toys without telling Zach. Can you imagine your like most favorite treasure? I don't care what age you are, toy, and your father just throws it away? Yeah. So he sets off a whole adventure he didn't even think about. And so Zach and Poppy and Alice find themselves on this adventure, and at the center of this adventure is the doll they call the Great Queen. And the Great Queen is a bone china doll. And I don't want to really tell you what a bone china doll is, other than it has the word bone in it. And maybe when you're reading, you could ask yourself whose bones are on or in the doll made of bone china. In addition to that, Poppy has been having these very weird dreams about the Great Queen visiting and telling the kids that they need to do what she wants, dun dun dun, or else. So I don't want to give away any more. This is called Doll Bones. It's by Holly Black, and it was fantastic. This is also available on audio book on, I believe it's Overdrive and Libby. Okay, let's move on. Okay, speaking of those Goosebumps books, I recently found this other series. It's called Frightville. I had never heard of it before, and I think it's a really great read alike. So even if you've read all of the Goosebumps books available to you, then maybe you want to check out some of these Frightville books. So this one is called Don't Let the Doll In. It's by Mike Ford. Now, Frightville actually refers to a very spooky shop that exists in this little town. And Mara, our main character in this book, visits the shop filled with really strange and unusual gifts. And she comes face to face with a doll she calls Charlotte, who is a small figurine, and she's pretty friendly looking. So she's not quite like a life size doll or like a, she's like maybe smaller than a Barbie doll. She's perfect for a dollhouse, which Mara and her parents just happen to be working on in her home. So when Mara gets home, she puts Charlotte in her dollhouse, and she fits perfectly. She looks like it's her actual home, except for when the sun goes down and Mara is sleeping. Excuse me. She starts to hear some skittering noises coming from the dollhouse, and who else could it be but Charlotte? So, in order to find out, is Charlotte alive in this dollhouse, and maybe Mara finds herself in that dollhouse at some point, you will have to read Don't Let the Doll In. Excuse me. And again, this is by Mike Ford, and it's part of the Frightville series. Excuse me, guys. Okay. So, that's another great one. Another really tried and true author, other than like R.L. Stine and all those great spooky authors, is Mary Downing Hahn. And she is actually a local author. She lives in Maryland. And this one is called Took. And it's called, subtitled, A Ghost Story. So if you've ever had an American doll, like one that, they have a few historic ones, but they also have ones that you can kind of customize to look like you. Well, that is what our 7-year-old character, Erica, gets. She gets a look-alike doll, and her older brother, Daniel, who's 13, is pretty spooked by a doll. I just realized a lot of these are about dolls. Dolls are spooky, or they can be. Well, their family, Daniel and Erica's family, have just moved to rural West Virginia. And being like the new kids at school, they kind of like get made fun of, and the other kids kind of like gossip and tell them stuff that they may or may not believe, like that there's a old witch that lives by that they call Old Auntie, and that she has a man-eating hog named Bloody Bones. And so they are like, whatever, we're new, you're trying to pull, the wool over our eyes, until Erica goes missing. So for this book, I wanted to read a little excerpt from this book because it's super spooky. Okay. The old woman sniffs fear. The girl is scared of the dark and the old house. She doesn't want to live there. Well, she won't live here long, will she? The girl's name is blown by the wind across the dark field and laid at the old woman's feet. Erica, 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 the old woman whispers. The name glides lightly through the air, a rustle of black silk thread, and winds itself into the girl's ear. She sees the girl tense and look around, move closer to her mother. Yes, the old woman hisses. You'll do, Erica. So, in order to find out what happens when Erica vanishes, and if she gets took, you will have to read Took. And this is by Mary Downing Hahn. Okay, really quickly, I want to go with kind of a funny one. I think funny, like horror and comedy, can kind of really go well together. And so this one is called Middle School Bites. And it says, when you're a Vam, Wolf, Zom. So what do you think those are short for? Well, Vam is short for vampire. Wolf is short for a werewolf. And Zom is short for zombie. So this poor kid, our main character, Tom, he's 11. He, within the span of, I think it's like 2 days, gets bitten by a vampire, a werewolf, and a zombie. So he becomes a Vam Wolf Zom. But guess what this is just in time for? The first day of middle school. So this book is super funny. There's a lot of really like awkward humor, like what, oh my gosh, why are your teeth so long? Or, oh, why are you craving blood all of a sudden? This is a really great book, and it has lots of kind of spooky but also super funny illustrations. in it. So this is a really fun read. If you like your scary stories with a side of laughs and humor, then Middle School Bites by Stephen Banks, illustrated by Mark Fearing. Mark Fearing. This is a good one for you. Okay, and my last book that I wanted to mention is really great because it's kind of spooky, but it's also kind of like mysterious. Like there's an element of mystery to it and supernatural, and maybe even like some time stuff. Like they might be stuck in time. This is called The In Between, and this is by Marina Cohen. And so we have you see two hands here. Now, these actually belong to two different people, Quinn and Kara. And Quinn and Kara are best friends, absolute best friends. And they are traveling with Kara's family on their way to Nevada. So they've been best friends since kindergarten. And when the trip is a little bit longer than they thought, their Kara's father stops at a hotel in the middle of the night. And they've never seen this hotel before, but it is a creepy old Victorian hotel, and it instantly gives them the creeps. Particularly Quinn, because Quinn starts to notice really disturbing things happening around them. And then soon, their second day, when they wake up, Kara's parents are missing. And then her brother goes missing because her brother's kind of with them for a little bit. So now the two girls are left alone to navigate strange guests and hallways that twist back and kind of loop around on themselves, and also a particularly nasty surprise hiding under the floorboards. So this is kind of more of a slow burn, kind of mysterious, spooky book. And this is called The In Between by Marina Cohen. We have tons more. I don't have enough time to tell you about all of our spooky books today. But if you are interested in some scary stories, but you maybe don't like a particular type of scary stuff, like there's stuff that I like scary stories, but there's stuff that I really get spooked by. I don't even want to read about it. Please give us a call here at the library. I'm happy to make recommendations for really all ages. I'm a fraidy cat, so if I've read it and I've liked it, then it's really not that scary. But I think this age, the school age, middle grade age, is kind of the perfect time to really get used to those kind of emotions about fear and learning how to cope with that kind of stuff in the safety of books. And this is a great time of the year for it. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I will see you next time.